What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with the final track from the Creatures 1983 album Feast, and it is Flesh. It's a single word title. It is very immediately descriptive, but of course it's the kind of word that could function on multiple levels. It might not be as physical and visceral as it sounds, or indeed anatomical, but most fundamentally flesh is tissue beneath the surface of the skin, in humans, of course, but living creatures of many different kinds. I think muscle is most immediately identifiable as flesh. Of course, if you're talking about flesh, you do tend to be talking about when that tissue is exposed, either because of an injury or perhaps some sacrificial rite, which feels like maybe that latter concept could be relevant here. Nevertheless, it is, of course, part of the structure and organs that allow a living body to function and which cease to function and eventually exist in organisms which are no longer alive. So any bit of that, I think, could be fertile ground for the dark, sometimes esoteric, and always intriguing thematic basis of these Creatures tunes. But let's see what it is in practice, or at least what I can pick up on a first listen. This is the Creatures, the tune is Flesh, and it's the final track on their 1983 album Feast.
The bursting balloon, cocktails are soon, young glands, young flesh invade the room.
There's a
A
meaning.
sardonic mood, ugh, watch the rich batter, eating raw fish with avid curiosity. Impaled on pleasure, impaled on spear, impaled with danger, impaled with fear. A disfigured, dismembered sex, with a third world past. Young glands, young flesh, the beating heart. Bursting balloon, cocktails are soon, young glands, young flesh, penetrate the room. They fall on the camera lens against the tumble-dry screen. On the edit room floor lies a messy scene.
what a crazy album ender. And, you know, I just did the album ender to the Gloves Blue Sunshine album and the reaction before this, and this feels like the same level of out there, disconnected, and in this case a bit cacophonous and crazy. Like, it honestly, like, started, for the first couple minutes, it felt like this dystopian psychedelic art jazz tune with some spoken word, and more on the lyrics in a moment, mixed with a bit of ambient cacophonous conversation, like real world sound, as if people were in the studio talking. But by the end, it actually, in one way, it became more focused, because it sounded like all those cacophonous voices were then, all their attention was turned to the same thing, which was engaging in a call and response with the lead vocals. But it became like this delirious, mad psilocybin trip or something by the end, where everyone's kind of shouting and they're singing, but they're cognitively impaired, so it's coming out not in full harmony or unison. But yeah, it just was a really remarkable experience, very psychedelic. Lyrically, I'm wondering, okay, because like the refrain that we hear again and again, which relates to like animal sounds, it's a bit funny just because of the way the animals are being referred to, like piggy instead of pig, doggy instead of dog, and what was it, like horsey instead of horse. So it's like piggy squeals, donkey brays, and for the record, like the name for a donkey sound is one of the more amusing words in that nomenclature. But yeah, piggy squeals, donkey brays, doggy barks, and horsey neighs. So those are all like sounds that they make, but then something about like a party, like how that relates to a party, and I never like quite heard that line clearly. But what I was trying to say at the very beginning is like, oh, flesh, like sometimes people's bodies, especially like in a naked sense, you know, the flesh pots, like referring to flesh as in like someone's sexual dimension, their physical bodily dimension, and, you know, flesh on flesh, that type of thing. So I felt like, okay, so maybe this is running in that direction, flesh as in someone's sexual interactions, or indeed persona or character or physical dimensions. And then I wondered, like, okay, like sounds, you know, people make different sounds during sexual encounters, and maybe some of them could be associated with these type of animal sounds. But then I was like, I feel like I'm reaching here. And then it was like falling down in the camera wells. Okay, that's already interesting enough. And what was the line after that? I forget the line after that. So then it was like, are we filming these things? Like, could this relate to like the production of adult material? And then again, I thought maybe I'm reaching too much with that, and I thought like, oh, maybe it's darker, like maybe it's about like, you know, the consumption of animal flesh and the way that like, okay, when it's prepared on your plate, you're not thinking about the sounds that the victims of this industry may have made, but I was thinking maybe it could be about that. But I think that is just as much of a stretch, and I don't know where the camera wells, I don't like why it would be filmed. So yeah, I don't quite know how it all stitches together, but I did hear parts of it, all of which have me intrigued. And then again, the party part in particular, I didn't hear the full line, so I don't know how that fits in, but just a crazy tune, and again, atmospheric, but in a very bizarre psychedelic way, but compelling. Like the whole time I'm interested in what's happening, so it's not like it was so weird that I was like, you know, what is this? But it was more, what is this? I'm so fascinated to figure out how these lyrics connect. And again, Susie singing in a like spoken word manner, almost like she's doing like a poetry slam or something, but by the end, all those like chatting voices, which literally could just be people in the studio when they were like recording this, and they told them, you know, just talk as if you're at a party and you're not even paying attention to what the band is doing. Budgie definitely doing a lot of really interesting and also like not arrhythmic but eccentrically or unusually rhythmic flourishes and fills and transitions. So the drums were definitely catching my ear. But yeah, just a crazy experience, and again, seemingly a very fitting way to end the album. So I think this was already mentioned, and Nicola, I don't mean to make you repeat, but in the moment I'm forgetting what the next step is. Are we jumping back to Susie and the Banshees? I think maybe that was the case. Do remind me if you would be so kind. In any case, let me know what you think of this one, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.